at the same time that a large firework shaped like a sea turtle was launched. Chris was swallowed by the dark sea.
No, Chris!
Sana shouted as she was held by the pirate. In the darkness, even when she strained her eyes, she could not see Chris. The pirates were confused after losing the chosen one, but Luke spat out, "It can't be helped."
I guess we have no choice but to give up the reward.
How about this girl?
Said the skinny pirate who was holding Sana's arm. And he thrust her in front of Luke with an expression of excitement that he could not hide. After looking Sana up and down as if to scrutinize her, Luke turned his face away, seemingly uninterested.
I got no use for the girl. Do as you like.
Nodding back happily at Luke's words, the skinny pirate pulled up Sana and licked his tongue. At that moment, a girl's angry shout echoed. Everyone turned to look in the direction of the voice. Then there was Ramal, transformed into a dragon, and Clare riding on top of him.
What the hell? Why is there a dragon here?
Just shoot.
Luke ordered the panicking pirates. Even as Clare shouted, "Stop it!" the pirates fired bullets at Ramal. However, the bullets that hit Ramal bounced back completely.
No way. It doesn't work.
Then use the cannon. Fire the cannon.
Felicino Dexter. As Clare held her hand out towards the aimed cannon, the barrel twisted and bent. The pirate aiming the cannon exclaimed, "Wow," with wide eyes. "Ramar, that's enough. Go for it," Clare commanded, and Ramal unleashed the water cannon at the pirates. The pirates hit by it were enveloped in bubbles and floated gently into the air.
Whoa, what is this?
I can't get out.
All the pirates were trapped in that membrane. Gunshots echoed everywhere.
No way. The guns aren't working at all.
Bullshit. Get away this bubble membrane.
Luke shouted angrily at Clare while slapping the membrane with his hand.
Help me.
Nero was also screaming. And so, the pirates floated away to somewhere. "Are you hurt?" Clare got off Ramal's back and asked Sana. Sana didn't reply and just kept sobbing. "What happened?" Clare asked as she approached Sana. "I thought it was strange that there was no reaction from Oromarus, so I came to check here." Clare noticed Oromarus lying on the black ship and picked it up. Then she looked around the ship. "Where's Chris?"
He was shot.
"Huh?"
He got shot and fell into the sea.
Sana said as she broke down in tears. The sound of dripping water woke Chris up. What caught Chris's eye were several crystals hanging down like icicles. The icicle-like crystals covered the ceiling completely. Chris sat up. Chris was lying by a spring surrounded by shining blue crystals. A woman in the form of a mermaid was leaning out from the spring, gazing at Chris. Chris had a vague memory of that mermaid from somewhere.
You woke up.
The mermaid approached Chris and sat down on the shore. Seeing her long white hair that reached her waist and her silver eyes, Chris remembered. She is the mermaid who had been watching from the bottom of the waterfall when Gion was introduced at Poseidon.
Where is this?
It seemed that he wasn't dead after all. Chris has seen the afterlife. However, the place he is in now looks completely different from that world.
This is the underwater cave of Atlias.
Chris said while turning his head to look behind him. "Why am I?" There was no sign of blood flowing, and he felt no pain.
I found you falling from the sky and brought you here. Did I fall into the sea from the sky?
The mermaid nodded.
But I'm not an undersea dweller, so why didn't I die after falling to the seabed? Besides, I should have been shot in the back with a gun.
Chris said, turning his head again and feeling his back with his hand. However, there were still no signs that he had been shot.
You are under the protection of the water dragon. It must be the garment you are wearing,
said the mermaid, directing her gaze at the pulla worn by Chris.
That's why you can live without dying even at the bottom of the sea. Moreover, I can also see the shadow of the earth dragon clad in steel flesh. The reason you weren't hurt even when shot with a handgun is probably because of that.
Chris looked at his own pulla. He never dreamed that the pulla he wore would possess such a trait, but thanks to it, he felt very fortunate to be saved like this.
Oh, by the way, thank you for helping me,
Chris said, as if he had just realized it. The mermaid smiled and shook her head.
My name is Chris, I come from the underground world.
Chris kept the fact that he came from the surface world a secret, just as Salit had suggested.
I know, I also know that you are the chosen one.
The mermaid said with a smile that seemed to see through Chris's inner thoughts.
My name is Almayan, I am the daughter of Gion. Huh? Is that true?
Chris couldn't believe that this fair-skinned, slender woman was the daughter of a man who looked as lumbering as a toad. Seeing Chris in shock, Almayan laughed.
By the way, where exactly are we in Atlias?
Chris asked, looking around. Chris became impatient because he remembered that Sana and Bibi were being held by pirates.
This is right beneath Riguia. Riguia?
Speaking of Riguia, it was a town southwest of Atlias.
Could it be that I was swept all the way to a place like this?
As Chris was about to ask how to get back to the ship, Almayan spoke up as if to control the situation.
You have a mission to find Aqua. Yes, I understand that.
Chris nodded.
But my friend and my pet dog have been captured by pirates. I have to go help them first.
Almayan shook her head. Then, she reached out and touched Chris's forehead. Then, an image of a ship appeared in Chris's mind. It was the scene where Clare and Ramal came after Chris fell into the sea and captured the pirates all at once. And then, Elandra and the other members rushed over as well. Rowan piloted the ship and docked it at Cannon's Pier. Meanwhile, Sana had been crying in the corner of the deck. Bibi is flying around over the sea searching for Chris. Chris pulled Almayan's hand away from his forehead.
Sana is crying, she thinks I've died. And Bibi is also worried and searching for me. I need to go back soon and let them know I'm safe.
Chris said as he stood up.
Where can I go back from? Wait, you shouldn't go back right now. What do you mean?
Rowan had said that the people from the underwater city council couldn't be trusted. Being the daughter of Gion might mean there is a connection to the underwater city council. A faint sense of suspicion towards Almayan began to sprout within Chris.
Calm down and listen.
Almayan warned with a gaze that seemed to see through Chris's doubts.
First of all, my will is completely different from my father's. My father has come to think that as long as he is fine, that's all that matters. So, if my father were to obtain Aqua, I don't know what would happen. Aqua might end up in the hands of darkness. You may know this, but right now, the underwater world is being approached by the dark forces. And there are many people who, without even realizing it, are becoming complicit with the dark forces. My father might be one of them.
Almayan shifted her gaze to the fountain. Then, she looked at Chris with pleading eyes.
So, I want to do everything I can to prevent that. I don't want Aqua to fall into the hands of my father or the dark forces. And for the earth and humanity to be guided in the right direction. I want Aqua to be handed over to the rightful person. For that, I need you. But how does that relate to me not going back to everyone and conveying that I'm safe? I intend to obtain Aqua, and I have no intention of handing it over to your father. I plan to take it back to the underground world.
Chris could understand Almayan's point. However, he could not understand the reason why he was being held back like this now. Almayan slowly shook her head, as if to admonish a disobedient child.
You were on your way to Cannon, weren't you?
Chris nodded.
Why were you planning to head to Cannon? Was it because you were told there might be Aqua there?
Chris nodded again.
Getting on a ship with pirates aboard? We didn't know it was pirates' ship.
Chris shook his head, and Almayan nodded back.
So, who arranged the ship? It was a man named Rowan, but why does that matter? Think about it. Would you arrange a ship piloted by pirates for something as important as searching for the crystal element?
Come to think of it, certainly it could be true.
But I don't think Rowan knew about that either. It seems he didn't arrange it directly himself.
Chris couldn't understand the intent behind Almayan's words. It sounds as if she's suspicious of Rowan.
So, let's say there was some mistake and he ended up arranging a pirate pilot, or the ship he arranged was unknowingly taken over by pirates. But who said Aqua was in Atlias in the first place? That was Rowan, right?
Chris nodded. It was indeed Rowan who said that the Underwater City Council had narrowed down the location of Aqua to 5 places in Atlias. Almayan let out a deep sigh.
Listen, Aqua is not in this Atlias. And that is a well-known fact within the Underwater City Council. Really? Then where is it?
Could it be that the information Rowan obtained was incorrect?
It is said that it's located in the underwater city of Limeraria, off the coast of Hawaii. Off the coast of Hawaii?
Chris, surprised, couldn't help but ask back. He couldn't even imagine how far it was from where he currently is.
But then, why did Rowan say that Aqua is in Atlias? Could it be that someone gave him incorrect information?
Almayan shook her head slightly.
That's hard to believe. Rowan, the stonemason, was originally an expatriate from the central office of the underground city of the Tios. So even now he is warmly welcomed wherever he goes in the underwater city. So, if he wants to, he should be able to gather fairly accurate information. But precisely because of that, isn't it also possible that the Underwater City Council, being wary that they might be spied on, chose not to give Rowan accurate information and instead fed him false information?
Almayan nodded.
Of course, that could be the case. But if it's Rowan, he should be able to tell right away that the Aqua's location is not in Atlias. Because, the Underwater City Council has long concluded that there is no Aqua in Atlias, and there isn't even an investigation being conducted anymore. So, that means...
Almayan nodded again.
Yes, it means that while Rowan knows there is no Aqua in Atlias, he told you that there is. But for what purpose? I don't know. He might have bribed the pirates to avoid suspicion on himself. And then had the pirates attack, so that when you obtained Aqua, Rowan would also get it through the pirates.
Chris looked down. Indeed, it's not impossible to think that way. Raising his head, Chris boldly asked the question.
So, does that mean Rowan is also complicit with the dark forces?
Almayan shook her head.
I don't know, but it's better to be suspicious. Given that information is being manipulated now, it's wise to be cautious about whom to trust and what to believe.
Almayan said, looking intently into Chris's eyes.
In any case, with even the slightest hint of suspicion, it's best to be wary of Rowan. If that's the case, it would be more convenient for you to pretend you're dead until you get Aqua. To avoid putting your friends in danger as well. But even if you say that, I can't go alone to the underwater city off the coast of Hawaii. Besides, Sana and Bibi are worried about me.
Chris wanted to convey to Sana and Bibi that he was alive no matter what.
I'll guide you to Limeraria,
Almayan said as she emerged from the spring, shape-shifting into a human form right there. The tall and slender Almayan, who stood up, had fair skin. As Almayan approached Chris, she knelt down and took Chris's hand. Then, she lightly pressed that hand against her own forehead.